Well, good morning, Cam. How you doing today?
I am doing all right, sir. How are you?
I'm doing okay. We had a very quick beard discussion before we went live today.
Beard with a D.
You are yes, not beer. Although that would be tasty right now too. But
A little early.
it's 5 o'clock somewhere. You know, there's morning drinking, isn't there? Or day drinking, I think is the term. But anyway, we're not those people. So
Yes. Yes, we were talking about our follically endowed faces.
yes, so I had to trim mine up for a reason that we'll talk about a little bit later. So I'm nice and trimmed up, and where it was like starting to get to about the 2 inch mark, maybe when I trimmed it up. Yours is getting a little bit longer. You know, for those that might be down south, you may not realize that it does keep your face warmer in the winter. So it's kind of nice to have a little extra foliage there.
Uh-huh.
So
Well, just letting it ride.
since
We'll
that
see.
is a thing up here, we gotta keep warm whatever way we can. So.
Indeed.
The temperatures haven't been so bad, but we got like 8 inches of snow Wednesday night into Thursday night into Friday this last week.
Dude, I haven't had to shovel once this winter.
Man,
And I'm not that much further south than you.
I have a feeling that I've been doing all the shoveling for you.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. It's been really cold,
Yeah,
but like I would venture to guess that 80% of the precipitation we've gotten all winter has been rain
yeah.
because it's been just warm enough.
And we've
Odd.
been just cold enough that we've been getting a lot of
Yeah.
heavy wet snow. So this last one, I got up on Friday morning. I had a oil change at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I had the alarm set for 5:30. And ran out there at like 7:15. I was like, man, I got to do this quick. And it was so deep in spots that I had to do multiple passes with my snowblower just to get it all. Because what you do is you kick that snowblower up, the front end of it up a little bit, and you kind of push it forward a little bit to catch the top part, and then you run it across the pavement in the second pass to get it all. So there wasn't very much of that I had to do, but there was a little bit. So, but yeah, it was a good 6 to 8 inches deep in most areas. So
Yep.
yeah.
Lucky you.
Yeah, I got my Jeep back, so at least I can drive
Finally.
it. So yeah, right. 2.5 months later.
Golly.
But I still am missing a front seat belt on the passenger side because the seat belts are way back ordered, and apparently the seat belt that I had was seized up, so they flip flopped them. So I have a good seat belt on the driver's side, but the seized seat belt they put in on the other side because of safety features. They can't just like swap out any old seat belt for it because there's actual electronics in the seat belt that connect to your security system or to your safety system. So my car actually says that my airbags need to be serviced because the seatbelt is not correct. So the dealership called me and said, "Hey, we want to get you back into your car. We know that, your rental time is running out and we need to get you into your car so you don't have to pay astronomical prices for your rental car." Which I totally appreciated. And he calls and he says, "But I got one caveat for you." And he's like, "I still don't have your seatbelt in. So you got to promise me with all your heart, you will not let anybody ride in the front passenger seat." And I said, "I can promise you that if you can just get me my Jeep back." Because he's like, it could be a couple months yet before we get this seatbelt. So Jeep doesn't know when they're going to be back in stock yet. And just, it's a whole mess. So we'll get you your car back, but you just got to promise nobody sits in the front seat with you. And I was like, well, I can promise that. So I'm at work when I get this phone call. So I text my wife, "Hey, hon, I got good news and I got bad news." Good news, we can get our car back. Bad news, you're sitting in the back seat for a while. So she thought it was hilarious, but then I sent her a gift from Driving Miss Daisy.
I was going to say, let's make the joke, please. Everyone's waiting for the Driving Miss Daisy joke.
Yep.
Morgan Freeman.
So it's hilarious because in the gift that I sent her, the driver, was it Morgan Freeman?
Yep.
It doesn't really look like him in the pic in the GIF that I've got, but I'll trust you. But he's got the smile on his face, and he's just kind of going along, and she's sitting in the back seat with the scowl on her face, and I just thought that was hilarious. So
Yeah.
good stuff.
Well, I'm glad you got your car back.
Yes, me too.
I'm sorry that it took a year and a half.
So, well, I have a predictees update for us this morning. So let's hit the
really
let's hit the horn. All right, I didn't have to do that, but since we're looking at the predictees, I have to concede that my Buck Wild pick did not happen this last week. So there was no event. Now, in my defense, they released a yellow iPhone this last week.
Yes.
And the rumor around the time that we made our picks in January was that the March event was going to have a yellow iPhone, or have a spring colored iPhone. I don't know if they'd nailed it as a yellow iPhone yet, but that they would be releasing a spring colored iPhone, because they've been doing that every year. And that in that announcement was possibly going to be the MacBook Air 15-inch on the M2, and a preview of the Reality headset, because the Reality headset's rumored to be pushed back to WWDC right now, and doesn't seem like the 15-inch MacBook Air is ready to go yet. There was no event this last week, which I think that there probably was one on the schedule tentatively for this week, but it just didn't happen, because this week would have been the week to do it. Because yesterday, this is Saturday as we're recording, yesterday they were to have a shareholders meeting. And how cool would it have been to have a shareholders meeting and say, that Reality Pro headset's cool, right? And just get everybody excited. So that's why I thought this would be the week that they make those announcements. Well, apparently they're not ready for them yet. So
supply chain.
Yeah, it is what it is. We'll make it work.
Well, Mitch, I must say I'm very brokenhearted that one of your picks was incorrect. It just tears me up, man.
I can see the pain on your face. But anyway, I thought I would point that out, since that one had a date attached to it. So that is definitely red now.
Well,
so
I do appreciate your honesty.
Yeah, good times. All right. So we've got a couple of topics that we want to talk about today. One that I'm really excited about, one that you're really excited about. So we'll talk about those and get into our Delighting Me section today, and should be a fun show. So you ready to rock?
Yes.
All right. Let's get to our first topic. I have a word on here that I don't understand. So I'm going to let you go ahead and talk about what you put in the show notes here.
Yeah, so it's a podcast app that I have recently discovered, and it's called Snipped. But of course, it's not spelled correctly, because I don't know why people just why did that become a thing? Can we just pause for a second? Why did spelling apps with incorrect spelled names become a thing?
It's probably easier to find in the App Store.
Yeah, hashtag branding, right? Anyways, I think it's stupid. But the app is called, not the app, I think spelling things incorrectly is stupid. But it's called Snipped, and it's spelled SNIPD. And it is a podcast app. But I stumbled upon this because I was looking for a way. I was using Pocket Casts. And so, again, this is a twofold thing. I was using Pocket Casts, loving it. And in Pocket Cast, you can share episodes. You can either share the full episode or share from a timestamp. But there was no way that I was aware that I could figure out to get that into Obsidian. Because the whole point for me, and I just, these workarounds where it would take I built a shortcut where it would export the timestamped podcast episode from Pocket Cast, and then I would take it and add it to a sheet or to a note in Obsidian. But then it's just the URL, and I have to launch the URL and listen to it, and it wasn't. It was a Band-Aid. So I was looking for a podcast app that would actually export a chunk, because like in Audible, you can save like a 30-second clip of the audio. I was like, I want to be able to do that, but I want to be able to take that and put it into Obsidian so that I can, go back and take notes or whatever. And so I was doing research. I found a bunch of hacks and workarounds. Then eventually I stumbled upon this app Snipped. And it does a lot more than what I was even trying to accomplish. It will take this, they call them snips, not clips. They will take the snip and it will transcribe it and give you the audio, and then and when you export it into Obsidian, it gives you all the metadata, the show, the episode title, the episode number, who the hosts are, the website, the link to the actual podcast, and then it will have the audio clip, and then it will have the transcription for that audio clip, and you can trim the start and end positions of the clip before you export it, so you only get exactly what you want, which is super, super cool. For very popular shows, it automatically, so it also has AI built in, which whatever. I don't really care about that. I just wanted the Obsidian integration. But it also integrates with Notion, Readwise, Logsec, Bear, a couple other apps that are focused more on like knowledge management type situations. But on the more popular shows, it will automatically have its AI run on those so that you can just see highlights from those shows to see if it's something that you might like. And the highlights are it's very well designed. Like it's a pretty app, which usually with this stuff, it's usually, function over form, with these sorts of things. But this one is actually pretty well designed. And then you can save, you can highlight, you can add notes to your snips as well. So like if I'm listening to a podcast and it's a podcast about the Bible or whatever, I can listen, I can stop, I can make my snip, and I can add a note right there. And then when I export that snip to Obsidian later, my note is also included. Which is really nice. And then you can do fancy, you can share up to 2-minute videos that have the podcast artwork and title and episode, and then the transcript, and it kind of like goes through for you as the audio is going. And you can share up to 2-minute long videos out of this, whether it's to social or, to your friends via chat or whatever. And right now it's free because it's, I think, technically still a beta. Eventually they're going to start charging money for it. But the other thing that happened, and this is a theme with me, Pocket Casts up their subscription from $9.99 to $14.99. So they added a 50% increase to their price with no feature gains. And then I got more from a free podcast app that eventually, they're going to start charging, but it does more for me in the way that I want it to, while still providing top-notch podcast app, experience, but integration with the apps that I wanted to have integration with for the reasons that I want, which is to capture the knowledge that is in podcasts in non-audio form. So I save money and I get more out of my podcast app, which is great.
All right, so I'm just barely digging into this. One issue that I have with a lot of the new podcast players that are out there, what this For You thing. Like I understand it includes some discoverability, but I know that it's becoming a real trend right now to say, hey, I know you like these podcasts, but here's a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, I
it's not injecting those in.
I didn't even know it had that section. Let's put it that way, because like I just tapped on it and I'm getting the introductory. Hey, this is how you use this section page, because I haven't touched it in the week and a half I've been using it.
But
I imported my podcasts from Pocket Casts and just started listening and making snips.
So it's not inserting anything into your feed of podcasts though.
Correct.
Because that is something that is happening in some of the other podcast players, is that it will say, hey, I think this will be a podcast that you would like. Here, I'll throw it into your feed for you.
Oh yeah. I mean,
and that's
maybe that
no-go.
happens in the For You section, but like I said, I honestly didn't even know that was there.
Okay.
I just, I have my subscriptions that I
Hmm.
listen to, and I click on those, and the ones that I want to take notes on, I take notes on, and the ones that I don't, and it is lovely.
Yeah, and see, to me that reads as you being a lot more of an active podcast listener than I am,
Uh-huh.
because I don't imagine that I view it as entertainment, like infotainment in a way. Like I'm getting information from it, but it's also entertaining for me, and so it's like listening to a radio show as opposed to like I'm trying to build a knowledge base from it. Mainly I'm just learning stuff in my head and not trying to save it anywhere. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the difference, and I've noticed that. Oh, I don't want to make it a generational thing, but I've noticed that it's kind of a mindset of a lot of the younger guys that do this, because I know I've heard Mike and possibly Federico talk about stuff like this, that they would go in and listen to stuff and want to have places to stick that stuff to try and save it for later listening or view or reading. And that's just like I didn't grow up doing that. That would be, and it's just not natural for me to do that. So
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wonder if it isn't a little bit of just a difference in approach. Because when I was growing up, you listen to something on the radio and you heard it and it went away, you know, and whatever memory you have of it is what you kept of it. So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't like I needed a silo somewhere to throw everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I also think like, I mean, I get what you're saying, and I'm not taking snips of like the Adventure Zone. You know what I mean? Like that to me, that's an entertainment show. It's a
Mm-hmm.
storytelling. But like if I'm listening to a pastor or a theologian on some of my, more theologically based podcasts, and they say something, then I'm like, ooh, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saving that and I'm putting it in Obsidian for later because I want to be able to reference that in a lesson or when I'm teaching if it's applicable. And the only way I can do that is if I have it in Obsidian, because I'm not going to remember in 2 years what this guy said on this podcast unless I have it with all of my other stuff. And I forget who said it, but there's this quote that says the brain is for having ideas, not for remembering them. Like we're really good at creating ideas and having them, but if we need to remember it, unless it was a very meaningful experience in our life, good or bad, we're probably not going to remember it long term.
I don't know if it originated with David Allen and getting things done, but I know that's something he talked about.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so for me, it's like I'm only saving stuff that I know that like fits in a certain genre of uh thoughts, right? And for me, a lot of that is around Christianity, faith, theology, that sort of stuff. And so when I listen to those shows, that's when I'm actively listening and I'm saying, oh, save that, save that, save that. But if I'm just listening to like Connected or Cortex or The Adventure Zone, like I'm not saving any of that stuff. Not because it's not great and good, but because it's not the type of information that I know I can save that I can use at a later date in the future to help, you know, cement an illustration or cement a teaching point or whatever, or if I'm, or for writing purposes. So
Okay. Oh, that's fair.
for me, it's a very specific genre of podcast that I'm
Mm-hmm.
using, but I wanted it because there's so much good information on these shows that I listen to that I know I've already gone back and re-listened to episodes from the past because I was like this. I remember like I starred this one. This one was that was my only recourse was to save it in my queue and star it. Be like, hey, at some point go back and listen to this, and now
Mm-hmm.
I can because now I can export it and get it into Obsidian with the rest of my notes around that stuff. So it serves a very specific purpose for me.
Okay. Yeah, and maybe I should, but I just don't use my podcasts that way. And
Yeah.
generally
Well,
speaking, it's just for entertainment. You
and
know.
it's been really hard to get unless you're going to sit there and type, like a stenographer as you
Mhm.
listen. It's been really, really hard to get anything out of podcasts. And that was, I remember like when Marco introduced sharing the clips out of Overcast. That was such a huge deal because now we finally had a way to share a 30-second clip. Instead of saying, hey, here's this 2-hour long ATP, go listen to this, you could say, hey, here's this really funny 30-second clip from this show, I thought you would like it, and send it to a friend via text or put it on your Twitter. That was a huge deal.
No, I agree. That is a deal.
But that was still trapped in audio, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this snipped app allows me to get it out of audio into plain text, still with all of the metadata, the actual audio, and a link back to the actual podcast in the player, all of that stuff, but all in plain text, that I can keep forever if I want.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a big fan. And now I don't have to pay $15 for Pocket Casts. Because, like, again, the 50% increase, like, the same thing happened with Fantastical, just these massive jumps in price changes. For what? The same exact experience.
Mm-hmm.
No thanks. And when Snip charges me money, I'll pay it because I'm getting more out of it than I would ever have gotten out of the other apps that I was using for podcasts beforehand. So I'm not against paying for apps. I'm just not going to pay you 50% more for no new features when I can go get more. Like the one downside to Snip that I've discovered so far is it's really heavy on your battery. But for the most part, I listen to podcasts in my car, and so it's plugged in. So I didn't, it doesn't hurt me that much. But anyways, so that's Snipped. If you're out there and you're into the knowledge management scene, give it a shot. See if you like it, and if you don't, that's okay. But thought it was worth sharing here on the show because.
So I just imported my podcasts into Snipped, and they threw extra podcasts in here. Like, I don't subscribe to the problem with Jon Stewart, but they put the problem with Jon Stewart in my feed.
Really?
Yeah.
They didn't add a single one to mine.
There's another one here called O Being. That
Did you blitz through the onboarding?
I just went right to my thing and
because in the onboarding they asked me if I wanted to add a few podcasts.
Yeah,
and I just said no. To them, like I unchecked them. So I think perhaps maybe.
Okay. So yeah, that might be the problem because I can go and unsubscribe from them, I guess. But yeah, that's not funny. There's another one here called Deep Questions.
Yeah, Cal Newport. That was one of the ones that they asked. Like they were like, "Oh, you might like this one." And I was like, I did keep that one because I do like him and his books. So I did keep that one. The other ones I said no to, though. I know. Look at that.
And it's updated. Yeah, nice.
I noticed that.
Pocket Cast was not updating our podcast. So, well, I should say that I was just Inner Dialogue came up on my podcast player, and it's actually updated.
Yeah, with the artwork that Mitch totally designed by himself.
Yep,
with no help from any machines whatsoever.
Yeah, definitely did not use Midjourney to make that. Yep, and I go into actually, it is updated in I don't know if you can see that.
Oh yeah, the episodes are, but not the artwork.
The episodes are updated now, so the artwork, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Not that worried about
just
it.
Would like to see some consistency, across these applications.
Well,
user experience.
I'll look into this because I think just for the idea of being able to make the snippets and stuff like that through it, I think might be interesting. Okay, I added lights to my shelving and back, and do you see them pulsing now? Yeah, that's not okay. All right, turn those off. And it wasn't, if I dimmed them, they would pulse really bad, but having them at, full brightness, they weren't pulsing. So not before. And now suddenly they started doing that. And I know why it is. It's because of the hertz or the light, whatever.
The frequency.
The frequency. Thank you.
Yep.
It's not coming
and then
to me.
the frame rate of the camera.
Yeah. Yep. It's apparently a thing overseas where the frequency is lower.
Because theirs is a different frequency and it messes with the frames. But this is why video lights always cost more than regular lights, because they're set to certain frequencies so that they don't mess with your camera.
Right.
And as someone who, it even messes with photos sometimes too, depending on the frame rate, like especially with certain lights. Like our sanctuary at church is really, really bad with this. We have a couple up lights on the stage and on the corners of the walls, and they are notoriously bad for photos. We're like, I got this awesome picture, it's like the speaker is perfectly framed and separated from the background, and then the blue light behind him is like line on the wall, and it's like, no. It's so frustrating. Anyways, that wasn't anything other than me just venting about something stupid. Let's carry on.
All right. Well, the item that I put into the show notes for today. Hold on. So the studio that I'm in has the waste pipe coming down through the room, and this didn't used to be an issue when the waste pipe was all cast iron, or when my wife wasn't home while I was recording. And now we had to have it fixed a while back. So it's all PVC, or mostly PVC now. And so the minute my wife flushes a toilet upstairs, or if she's running the dishwasher and there's a bunch of water running down it, it's like a waterfall in this room. So I had to take a moment here and let that pass so that I could talk.
Just a bit of nature, Mitch. It's an enrichment.
It's calming. Anyway. So what I put into the show notes for this week is something that I've really, really been enjoying, and I actually paid for the subscription for this because it's just like, I need this in my life because it's awesome. I, like you, really was enjoying a lot of what was going on with Obsidian and the plugins and, building my outboard brain there. But then a little app called Notion added something revolutionary this last week. The Notion AI. I don't know if it wasn't last week, it was a week before. But it is using OpenAI, from what I understand, or the same standard that ChatGPT is built on. And it has made Notion like a whole new place for doing different things. So one thing that I used this for this last week is I typically like to keep a list of like Star Wars books Star Wars books in a chronological order, with check boxes in front of them, so I know what I've read and what I haven't, and I can keep track of that and where they are in the timeline, because a lot of times if you've started a book, you want to know where you are in the timeline so you understand the context of where the book is being written. You also want to make sure that you're not missing a book, because a lot of times they will come in like, there's this trilogy of books, so you don't want to start in the middle or at the last book of the trilogy. You want to start at the beginning. So it's important to know, and they're not always labeled super well. So you want to make sure that you're keeping track of where you are and what you're reading and what needs to be read. So I tried this the other day, and I sat down with Notion AI, and you just hit the space bar and then you type in your query. It's that easy to use in Notion. There's no like weird, thing that you have to do to pull up, like a Chat GPT client or, something like that. You just go into Notion and you hit space bar and start typing your query. Now this is on the computer. It's a little bit different on the iPad or the iPhone. I think you have to actually select something at the bottom to say that I want to use Notion AI with this query. but I typed in create a list of Star Wars books that are canon in chronological order with checkboxes in front of them. Enter. And all of a sudden it just started building right in front of me of all the books that qualify for that. Now, one piece of advice with this is if there's any like new stuff that's coming out, sometimes it misses that stuff because it's getting all of its information from the internet and it's building its AI model off of what it's gleaned off the internet. So some of the newest stuff is not going to be up there. So there is going to be some editing that you have to do, but I didn't have to sit down and type out the title of 50 different books with check marks in front of them and, you know, fill in all the information for them. All I had to do was put this query in and it got me like 45 of those books. And then I just had to fill in the ones that it was missing. And, you know, there's a couple of them that were a little bit out of order because I already had a list of them that I was working off of. So I just had to make a few edits to it. And instead of spending, you know, 2 hours putting this together, it took me 15 minutes. And it was
Nice.
sweet. I really enjoyed it. You get 20 for free, and then it's, I think, $10 a month, maybe. Like, it's not cheap, but if you're using it enough, it makes it worth it for sure. So, but yeah, so I was going to do one real quick on the air because I want to see what what I can get for Star Wars TV shows. So, so I'm going to tap spacebar and in the Mac app, it pops up a ask the AI to write anything. So I'm going to type in create a list of Star Wars TV series in chronological order. What else do I want? I want with seasons and episodes, say episode titles with checkboxes. And let's see what this does. I love it when stuff works like it's supposed to. Unfortunately, I'm looking for checkboxes and I'm not seeing checkboxes, so it didn't do that part. But it's going through and it's listing all of the Star Wars TV shows. And it's choking on it a little bit. It's taken some time to get through everything because right now it's going through all the Clone Wars episodes. Oh, there it's done. So
wait, it gave you all the episodes too?
Yeah, well, that's what I asked for. This is all the episodes.
Yikes.
Here are the check boxes for each episode. It actually listed those out separately. So not perfect. And it only gave me season 1 of The Mandalorian. Gave me season 1 of Star Wars Resistance. 3 seasons of Rebels. It's certainly not perfect, but 6 seasons of Star Wars The Clone Wars. So it didn't get everything. And it looks like maybe the model that it was trained on was from, you know, maybe 5 years ago, maybe even a little bit longer ago than that, because it is missing some specific stuff. But it it did a pretty good job of creating the list and kind of giving me what I wanted. But something I used it for the other day was I was looking for scripture on dealing with anxiety. So I thought I'm going to try this out and see what happens. So I typed in, tell me what the Bible says about anxiety. And it popped back with a scripture reference. Let me see if I still have it here. I think I might have had it in one of my journals. Yeah, so pop back with Philippians 4:6. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And it gave me 2 Corinthians 12:9. And he has said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for power is perfected in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, I will rather boast in my weaknesses so that the power of Christ may dwell in me. So maybe not perfectly anxiety, but it relates. And then I asked for, what was it? I had Matthew 6:25 through 34, which is a good passage on anxiety. And I asked for commentary on those verses, and it kicked back a halfway decent commentary. It's not perfect, but it gave me 6 paragraphs of information on what was happening in that passage. So it was interesting to try it and see what it would come back with. And all it really did was kind of paraphrase the passage and not give a lot more than what's there. But it is trained on models that include, blog postings and stuff like that on all of this as well. So it, with the right queries, it should return something that reads a little bit more like a commentary and less like just a paraphrasing of the scripture. Probably something I have to play with a little bit.
Yeah, interesting.
So yeah. Cool, as the kids say.
Cool. Yeah, cool.
Is that spelled Kawl?
Probably.
So, all right. But I've been like diving headlong right back into Notion. And one of the things that I did use it for, like I said, I'm creating a book or creating a list of Star Wars books. I have one for all the canon books and for all the Legends books. So the Legends books it did really well on because there's not a lot of new ones coming out. So it was able to grab, I think, really all of those very well. And then the canon books, I just had to go in and tweak them some because there wasn't a lot of information on a lot of the books that have come out like in the last year or two. So for TV, I actually went in and I'm watching through all the Transformers series. So I asked it for a chronological list of all of the Transformers TV series, and it pumped out a really nice list. I had to go and edit it because it didn't look at what the Japanese series, because there were specifically series that were released in Japan but not in the US. So I had to delete some of those out of the list. There was a few that were missing because they were newer series. There's a couple of them on Netflix that are new that I had to delete or I had to add to it. So it was interesting to go through and use it for that. So, and that worked really well. But
you, Mr. Fancy Lists.
Yeah, I like lists of stuff like that because it gives me an idea of where I'm at and what I have left. So I realize I'm a little bit over halfway through all the Transformers cartoons. So
I didn't even know there was multiple series. So
man,
I am at the very other end of the spectrum, sir.
There are many series. I think if you go in, let me look and see if I
is there one where Optimus Prime turns heel and calls himself Optimus Crime? Because that's a missed opportunity if it hasn't happened.
No, it was Nemesis Prime. It's happened. Really? So, yeah, it's happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Optimus Crime is such a better name.
Optimus Prime, yeah.
Optimus Crime.
Optimus Crime? No, I hate that.
Yeah. No, it's amazing.
That's terrible.
TM. I fine. And he can be voiced by John Cena.
Let's not
So
do
we
that.
finally get the heel turn we've always wanted.
Please don't do that, please.
And then he could have a turn as a rapper. Like that's what we're talking about.
Need a
I'm just
spinning
ruining
belt.
Transformers one stupid idea at a time, and I love it. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. I'm not sorry. I think it's great.
Yeah, anyway. No, there is a story arc that pops up every once in a while where Optimus gets overtaken by something that turns him into Nemesis Prime. His eyes turn purple, and he's all of a sudden wants to take out the Autobots. So
Could also do a spin-off where he's a police officer and his name is Optimus Prime.
Optimus Prime, I hate that too. Mm-hmm. Will you stop? Oh boy. I feel like you're fishing for show titles here.
No, I'm just being goofy, Mitch. You know, just being goofy. I like being goofy, especially when I can either get a good belly laugh out of you or just the pained like cringe.
Yeah, you got the cringe out of me for sure.
They're equally as satisfying to me.
All right. Well, I don't know that I have much more to say about that. I've really been enjoying getting back into Notion. To me, it's got the feature set that I need. One thing I did enjoy about Obsidian was going in and messing around with a lot of the plugins and stuff like that. But in the end, the plugins that I was using didn't provide as much value for me that I needed, and I think Notion gives me more of what I need. And then they added in this AI feature, and it's like, you know, I'm writing stuff, and I'm thinking, I wonder. And then I do a quick AI query on something, and it's like, oh, okay, that's actually interesting. I can add that in here. Now, there is a word of warning: AI isn't perfect. So, you know, if it's you do have to vet any information that it gives you and make sure that it's accurate. But it is a really neat tool to have. One thing that I did this last or couple weeks ago, maybe this last week, whatever. I have 3 synopsis papers that I have to write on 3 different books that we did for our the class that I'm doing right now for biblical counseling. And so what I did was I said, okay, write me a synopsis on this book. Now I'm not going to turn this in as a paper. I'm not an idiot. But I typed in the query because I was curious to see what it would kick back. Well, the first book I tried, it returned a completely different book that had the same title. They both had the same title. So then I typed it out. Okay, write me a synopsis on this book by these authors, and it kicked back another book that had actually 2 authors' last names that were the same. I'm like, okay, now I have to be more specific. So I typed my query again with more specificity.
There you go.
That's a tough word.
Nailed it.
And I typed that in, and I finally got it. Well, then when I read through the synopsis, I'm like, this seems just a little bit off. It was close enough, but it was just off enough that if I did decide to turn that as my paper, my instructor, I'm sure, would have been like, dude, did you read the book? So, but what it did do nicely is it kind of provided me an outline to build off of. So I can write the paper with a little bit of an outline already kind of in my head about where I want to go with it. So, but that worked out pretty nice. But always vet the anything you get back from any kind of AI source. So
definitely.
Yep.
I'm in the keep AI slightly stupid camp, but we'll see.
Well, if you want it stupid, I think it's stupid enough because it is getting all its information from us. So it's not creating its own information yet.
Oh, so many comments that I'm going to keep to myself because I don't want it to get political. Just let's move on.
All right. Well, you ready for what's delighting us today?
Sure.
All right, let's move on to that. Well, what's delighting you today, Cam?
I took yesterday off work just because. And it was a great decision.
You played hooky.
I mean, I used my PTO. Like,
yeah,
I
but
didn't just not show up.
but it feels but it feels a little naughty to say you played hooky.
Yeah, but like, I mean, I was just midweek, and I was like, you know what? I have a lot of PTO, like 100 hours. I'm just gonna take a day just because.
It is
I
nice.
asked my boss on like Wednesday. I was like, "Hey, cool if I just don't show up on Friday and take PTO?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm out half the day anyway." It's like, boom, let's go, 3-day weekend secured.
Yep. That is nice.
And I slept in, and I played the new season of Fortnite with some friends. I treated myself to Chick-fil-A for lunch. Like, I just had a nice, relaxing, just day of things Cam enjoys doing. You know, I watched some TV, I watched some basketball. The only thing I didn't do was have a fire, and that was because it was like 34 and windy, and I just preferred to stay inside. That was like the one thing I wanted to do that I didn't do.
Yeah.
But the weather was not cooperative. So, but no, it was really enjoyable. And, I had some tasty beverages while I watched sports and TV and went to sleep. And it was just a wonderful day of not working. And I also set that up because I have to do my taxes this weekend. I was like, I need a solid day of just.
So there was kind of a reason.
Yeah. I didn't even realize it on Wednesday when I took it, but then Thursday, as I was looking at the calendar, I was like, oh crap, I have to do my taxes before March 15th because I have an LLC, so you have to file early.
Yeah.
I was like, crap, that is Wednesday of next week. I need to do my taxes this weekend. So I took the day on Wednesday, and then the next day I realized, oh no. So it won't take me long, and I'll get money, but it's just the annoyance of having to sit down and do upload all the receipts and it's just, you would think like, hey, you're going to get money, should be an incentive.
That hasn't been working out real well for us in our taxes lately. So,
well,
the at least, if not, the government has been not wanting to do refunds as often. So they're getting a lot of these big companies to take less taxes out of our paychecks. I don't get any. So I ended up like we're paying in this year for I think the first time that we've ever had. Usually we were getting like a couple of grand back. And
but they can't change your W-2 for you.
No, but they can adjust how much they're taking out, like the dollar amount of what's being taken out based on what you've put in.
It feels shady.
They're doing it. Because I'm getting screwed in my taxes. I actually changed it to add a little bit of money to be taken out, and that might be why we're not paying in as much as we were paying in. My wife is in the studio with me, and she has her hand raised. What were you gonna say?
Part of it is because I made so little that they weren't.
Yeah, so they weren't taking any taxes out of my wife's paycheck because of how little she was making.
That happened to us one year.
Yeah.
And my wife didn't know that was an issue to tell. And so I was livid.
Yeah. Well, I had heard. So where I currently work, and we'll get to that in a minute. We have the ability to change our taxes a couple times a year. And a lot of times we have a profit sharing check that comes around in March and September. And so a lot of people, what they want to do when we have big checks coming is they want to turn off their taxes so that they don't have any money taken out for those checks, or any federal taxes taken out. You still get a little bit taken out from state, but because they take 43% out federally, because it's considered gift, they put it under gift tax. So
yeah, that's a big chunk.
Yeah, so we'll just turn our taxes off for that one check and then turn it back on right afterwards. And so that we don't get that huge chunk taken out. Well, the last time I did that was a year ago. I didn't do it in September because I really didn't need to. But a year ago in March, I turned my taxes off, and when I turned it back on, I added like $20 a paycheck to try and offset what they weren't taking out. So obviously I need to move that number up, but but yeah.
Super fun.
Yeah, taxes. Stupid. But I'm glad you had a good day off.
It was nice.
I like doing that for my birthday every year. And
oh yeah, I for sure don't work on my birthday.
Yeah. I'll take a day off. It's all about me. I'm not gonna be ashamed of that. I'm gonna take the day and I'm gonna appreciate it. And so we
get out your Mitch is awesome and I am Mitch t-shirt.
I should have one made up. That'd be pretty good.
Should. You're welcome.
Yep. Thank you for the idea. But I've gotten in a habit the last couple of years of buying a maybe about $100 Lego model and spending my day building that because it just brings me pleasure. It's good.
There you go.
Yeah. $100 is kind of my cap for that day. I don't want to get anything too crazy, but yeah, I've got one model staring at me over here, and there's one on the shelf behind me over here that I built on my birthday. So
very nice.
Cool.
So what's delighting you today? All
right. Well, I have never said who I work for on the podcast. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Twice I've slipped and said it, and I edited out in post. But
yeah, I will. Point of order here. You did say it during our tax discussion about 4 minutes ago.
Sweet. So all right. So anyway,
edit that out.
This particular company that I work for has I haven't been terribly excited about working there for some time. And, I still go in. My dad always taught me, is like, you don't always have to enjoy your work. You just have to do it. So, I've been going to work. I've been doing my job, making money, supporting my family, doing what I got to do. And recently we're in the midst of our inventory prep time right now because we've got inventory at the end of the month. So my manager, the manager that's directly over our area of the store, decided it would be a good idea to take the one other person in my department that actually contributes to the department and probably contributes more than I do, to be honest, because of where our shifts fall. Decided that she should go to overnights to do inventory prep and leave me alone in the department. I wasn't happy about that. And behind my back, 2 other associates made a comment about not a full-on derogatory comment, but not a very a complimentary comment about me to them, to say I'll be okay, he can get this stuff done. And I'm not going to repeat what she said, but it wasn't complimentary. And it kind of upset me. So I started filling out applications that day because I'm like, you know what? This is kind of the last straw. I'm done with, dealing with a lot of the stuff that I've been dealing with for a while. And I'm not going to go into it. I don't want to sound like I'm whining, complaining about something, because it is what it is. But I can also, we're in an at-will state, which means I can quit and go work somewhere else. So I'm going to take that opportunity. So I had an awesome interview with a home services company in our area this last Monday. I had just finished my disc assessment the other night for them and should be getting a call to at some point here in the next week or two to set up a second interview with them. And if all goes well, the first part of April, I will be working for a new company. So
let's go.
Yeah. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm secretly hoping that they push it off until the end of April because my anniversary date at my current job is the 19th of April. And that's significant because my 3 weeks of vacation would load in there, which means that if I quit after that, I would have those 3 weeks of vacation paid out.
Yeah.
So basically I would get 3 free weeks of vacation. So I'm kind of hoping that that's how this all lands, and we'll see what happens. But it could be pretty cool. But if it doesn't work out that way, it doesn't work out that way. But one of the scary things about this job is 100% commission. So I have a base pay for the first like 4 weeks to a month, or 4 weeks to 2 months if I need it for training. And then at some point I just tell them, hey, I'm ready to go. And they take that base pay off, and then it's 100% commission from there forward. So the nice thing is the amount of money that could be made for just doing quota should basically doubles what I'm making right now.
Holy crap.
So from
that's significant.
That is very significant. And so I'm pretty excited about the ability to make more money, make sure that my family's well taken care of, get debt paid off, get to a point where, you know, I need to replace a MacBook because the old one's not doing so well, because this is something that happened recently. And I don't have to think about, okay, how am I going to afford the monthly for that? Because I can't afford to just buy it. Mm-hmm. You know, I could be in a situation where we have an emergency fund for stuff like that. Well, emergency is probably going a little far, but we'd have a fund for stuff like that. You know, this particular home services company, because it is a construction thing, you know, typically from December through, say, February, you know, they're not very busy. So my wife and I could take a vacation to somewhere warm, you know, for a week, maybe 2, depending on what she would have available for vacation time. And I don't have to think about, you know, can we afford to do this? Because we could have a budget for that. And which is something that I haven't had the ability to do for a very long time. And so, you know, having that kind of pay, that kind of money coming in could be amazing, you know, to be able to just not get rich. I don't need to get rich. I don't need to have a fancy car and, you know, a 15-bedroom house with whatever. I don't need to have anything fancy, but to be able to take care of my family and have money in the bank, you know, to take care of things when things pop up would be really nice. So
definitely.
So I'm excited about this. I hope
it all works out.
Yep. I just have to get through the last interview, and apparently I charmed the guy that I talked to last time. So I just need to charm one more guy and I'm in. So
that's good news, man. I'm really hoping it goes to plan.
Yeah. My wife just said, I'm not sure how I feel about you charming other men.
Touche.
And see, I set you up for that comment.
I know, but I was in such a I'm happy for Mitch mood that I wasn't even thinking about it. But that is well done. That was the joke. She got it. I'm very proud of her. Well done.
All right. All right. Anyway. Well, you've got anything else you want to add for this episode?
No. I feel both happiness for you and shame that I did not take the low-hanging fruit of that joke. So I feel like I just need to go sit in the corner and think about what I've done. That's
you know, and I appreciate I like being able to do a show that's kind of short and sweet. I'm at 59 minutes right now. So this won't take super long to edit either. So
boom.
Very cool.
Let's go. I think stack the wins, Mitch. Stack the wins.
I think we did a 2-hour episode once, and I'm just sitting there. By the time I got done editing, I'm just like, oh, is this thing over yet? So very cool. I like it right about an hour and 20 maybe. So I think that's where we've been. So it's good.
Very well.
All right, man. Well, it's been fun talking. We will talk in a couple of weeks again, and I'm glad to see that the podcast players that we use are getting updated and are getting our feeds properly now. So if you are joining us today and you're like, dude, I had like 4 episodes pop in, it's like we've been doing them right along. It's just we moved where our and you'll hear this in the other episodes as well. We moved where our host was, and it's taken a little while, and there's a little mistake on my part in that process too. It's taken a little while to migrate the feeds over, so I'm glad they're finally migrating. So very cool.
Indeed.
All right. Well, I need to get you the URL to redirect innerdialogue.show to.
Yes.
But if you go to my website, mitchcraig.online, you can find the Inner Dialogue podcast there. And if people want to find out more about you, Cam, where are they going to go?
CamBrennan.com.
Right on.
Because I've removed all social media from my phone, and it's glorious.
Yep. I've just had Mastodon, and I only check it every once in a while. But it's been fun to see some of the conversations going on there.
I'm like a week into this.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, no, I'm appreciating, just having a little bit of freedom there for myself. Twitter, I didn't realize was just making me grumpy. So I'm trying to get my pastor off of it too, but he does some good stuff on there too. So I don't want to discourage him too much, but sometimes I look at him and it's like, it just makes you grumpy, doesn't it? And he's like, well, yeah, kind of. And like, there's a solution for that. So, but anyway. All right. So you can check out me at mitchcraig.online, hit up cambrennan.com. If you're looking for an amazing photographer that can do all kinds of video work and photography, I hear there's another website you can check out. Is it brendanmedia.co?
BrennanMedia.co. Yes. Thank you for that shameless plug, Mitch. I appreciate it.
Well, we're not getting sponsored by anybody else, so we'll take you as a sponsor.
This podcast,
this episode,
by Brennan Media.
We're sponsoring our own show. So
there you go. It's like pro wrestlers wearing our own merch.
Yep, there you go. Don't be that guy. Yeah. He got the reference. Love it. All right. Anyway, let's get out of this show here. Cam, it's been fun. Have a great week.